Yeah, hello everyone. Once again, you're welcome to FTGFs Lounge. And as usual, we do have beautiful conversation with industry players, key industry players, people who have, who hold the keys. So today's session we have Mr. Robert Van Eyden, and let me do a little bit introduction before I allow him to continue with the introduction. So he's a CEO of Scope Market South Africa, and he's an author. And the title of the book, which I am aware of, is Badass Trader. He will tell us a bit about that. And he's also a council member of University of Pretoria. And he's a huge figure in the industry, especially when you come to the African region. And we are honored to have him on this platform. Mr. Aiden, you're welcome. Happy New Year.
Thank you very much, and
Yeah.
it's good chatting to you as well, and Happy New Year to you as well.
Yes. Please, was I able to do the introduction well? Or there are little things you would like to add?
No, I think you had it spot on, so it was really a well covered introduction. Thank you.
Right. Before we delve more to even into trading bits, the business part of trading, I know you do post some principles on LinkedIn, and I do follow and I read. So your last post is principle 279, where you said to know and not to do is not to know. That's deep, which we would like you to break it down for us. For our audience before we even delve into the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you know, I produce these principles every Saturday,
Okay.
and this one was basically the idea behind this principle was basically most people actually would be successful at trading. So they know what they do, they know how to do it and what to do. The problem is that they do not do it. And there are a whole
Okay.
host of reasons why people do not want to do things. Um, it's basically, there is no formula in trading, but people seem to find that if you do tell people the formula, they find it too simplistic, so they want to add their own mix to the recipe. So that's one problem. And then
Okay.
also another problem is, you've got a lot of these biases. You've got fear, greed, and hope coming into play the whole time. So trading is managing a position, whatever it is, but it's also managing yourself. Um,
Okay.
and the hardest person to manage, and you wouldn't think of it, is yourself, specifically with trading, because it requires a lot of discipline. So, this principle on Saturday, which I published, was basically just to reinforce the idea that a lot of people know what they need to do. But if you look at the statistics worldwide, if you go into the CFD brokers, specifically in the UK, you'll see, 75, 79% of their clients actually lose money and they need to
Right.
publish that. So it is quite clear that people do lose money by knowing but not executing correctly. So that's the idea. And then
Of
to follow up, LinkedIn Principle 280 this week will be coming, what is the magical formula? And there is no magical
ah.
formula because people believe there is. And this is the problem in our industry at the moment because people believe that there is a formula. People believe, um, you can basically follow someone and pay them X amount of dollars and they'll make you wealthy. Usually, the people that sell you the signals, actually, that's how they make their money, not through trading. They usually focus on selling the signal, and eventually there are enough people that want to participate in this game we call trading that some of them have actually become really wealthy. And then a third thing, it's quite strange. If you look at professional sport, most professional sports people have mentors or coaches. But when you tell someone in trading to get a coach or a mentor, it's like frowned upon, which is also very surprising. I'm
Yeah.
very surprised. Even the top, golfers, tennis players, they've all got coaches. Now, why would
Right.
that be? Anyway, yeah, but that was 279. As you know, we know what to do, but
Yeah.
we don't do it.
Exactly. It's deep, and based on what I was about to follow up with a question, which you said is going to come in the two, I think the 280. So
Yeah.
I have two questions based on what you
Yes.
said. Um, do you think, well, the first one is, do you think that the influencers, like you said, so they will tell you pay for signals and all of that, but right, like you rightly said, majority of them make money from the signals that you pay for. So the question is, do you think these people have also caused a problem in the trading industry? Because majority of the time, people feel like, oh, I got scammed. Somebody told me I'm going to get a good signal, I'm going to make money, and I did not make it because of the lifestyle that the people portray online. Do you think they've caused a lot of problem and have had impact on the minds of people to the extent that whenever they start trading themselves, they get disappointed? Do you think that that has caused a problem?
It's huge. It's a huge problem, and we see it in in the country that I live in South Africa. I can see it on just following people on Instagram and on overseas as well. It was quite interesting. I won't mention names, but there was a book published about a week ago,
Okay.
and there was some negative commentary about the book where this person interviewed successful traders. But if you, the negative commentary was basically if you start unpacking the successful traders, the bulk of them, 80 to 90%, make money out of selling something and not through trading.
Oh, okay.
So it's quite important, that people, and the problem is, we're living in a world where people like flash over substance, and a lot of these influencers are getting caught out. They wear fake clothes, they rent cars for the day, they prance around in restaurants and drinking, because that is a way for them basically. Um, Health,
Mm-hmm.
finances are probably the two easiest places to influence people to part with their money.
Yeah.
And it's for basically different reasons, but it comes down to the idea, if this person is driving around with this very fancy car, flying around the world, and they only started with $100, and look at them now.
Yeah.
It's a problem, and I always tell people, when someone phones you and says I'll make you 3-4% a day, the first question you need to ask them, if that is the case, why don't you do it? And if you do it, in 5 years, if you compound that every day, in 5 years you'll have more money than Elon Musk. Why are you trying to sell me the idea?
Yeah.
Why aren't you doing it? Why in 5 years will I not see your name on the Forbes top 10 list? Because at compounding those rates, and you get it, 3-4%, and people say, gosh,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound a lot, 3-4. It is a hell of a lot of compounding per
Yeah.
day, and guaranteed 20%. We also see it, they say signals 99% accurate. Nothing is accurate. The
Yes.
problem is it can't be accurate because the markets are open systems, which
Mm-hmm.
means you don't know when something's going to influence it, and it's influenced by a whole host of factors. And that's
Right.
also one of the reasons why, with AI as well, why AI will never get a 100% prediction. AI really works well in in a closed system, but the markets are open. It cannot predict anything.
Yes, 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 yes. That's a good submission, which I agree. I agree with you on that. And the last question also comes from your principle. So you said people know what to do, but they don't do it. Now,
Yeah.
me coming from Africa, so this is the twist. Me coming from Africa, Ghana to be specific, whenever we know what to do and we are not able to do it, most of the time we attribute it to spirits. Like, okay, there's a spirit dragging me. It's not allowing me to do what I want to do or I need to do. So it has like spiritual backing. I also think that, or based on popular opinion, is like, okay, it also has some psychology part of it. So based on what you said, when people know what they have to do but they are unable to do it, especially in the market, would you attribute it to psychology or spirits or maybe spiritual backing? How would you? Yes.
Yeah, look, I think, when things don't go right, then there's always a reason. If it could be spirituality, it could be
Yeah.
something else. At the moment, all the planets are lining up. It could be that. Um,
Okay.
who knows? I always tell people the easiest person to fool is yourself. So,
Yes.
so
Right.
this is part of you fooling yourself to say, okay, instead of taking accountability and saying, you know what, it's not working for these reasons. It's got nothing to do with spirituality. The markets aren't spiritual; they're driven by pure supply and demand.
Right.
Um, and then, so you need to hold yourself accountable. I think if you can get to the point to say, you know what, in life, generally, I am the easiest person to fool. If you start like
Right.
that in life and then say, okay, that's fine. Okay, now what do I need to do to prevent this? And externalizing it, through spirituality, through XYZ,
Yeah.
it doesn't work. The most common one is, the markets are against me. The markets actually don't know who you are, and they actually don't care who you are. They can never
Right.
be against you. So I've also heard it, where people pray and say, "Oh, please turn this losing position around," and things like no. It's to do with your psychology and to do with your accountability. It's
Mm.
interesting, I'm talking a lot of years back. There was basically a bet between two gentlemen: can trading be taught, or is it
Okay.
something that that is basically innate in a person? And the project was called the Turtle Traders. And what they did
Okay.
is they brought in 20 people, and they basically told these 20 people, here's the recipe. And for a
Right.
period of 6 weeks, you just trade the recipe. Everyone
Right.
traded the recipe. Everyone did well. After the
Yeah.
period, basically, the gentleman who said that trading can be taught won the bet. And
Ah.
if you look at a lot of the old turtle traders, if you look it up on the website as well, a lot of them are still managing a lot of money because they
Right.
followed the recipe. They didn't
Okay.
externalize it. They didn't blame the markets. They didn't blame the weather, the seasons.
Yeah.
There are a lot of reasons. We can wake up every day and there's good reason for something to be blamed why we're not succeeding. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, there are a lot of people that succeed, but it's following a recipe. It's the same thing if
Exactly.
I give you a recipe to make a meal and you
Mm.
forget something or you change the sequence, it'll probably not taste as what the recipe said it would.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, I like that. Based on what we've said so far, I think you have a lot in your books. Okay, you are an author, and I would
Yeah.
like you to tell us a bit about, because it's piquing my interest based on what we just said, piquing my interest that now then you have a lot in your books that I would like you to tell us about your books, books that you've authored so far, and the content. If yeah,
I've actually authored 3 books,
okay,
where two I would say is basically more on investing,
okay,
which is also quite strange because the first book I published was called The Money Fountain, where I say for most people, it is best just to um, put a percentage of your earnings into a mutual fund or an index tracker, that tracks the index. I'm not sure if you can buy them in Ghana. Uh,
oh,
Here they are
no,
known as unit trusts. They are known as mutual funds in the US, where you
okay,
just track, the S&P 500, and the S&P 500 on an average year makes 10-12% easy.
oh,
So I wrote it in a
so
book. I wrote
annually,
it
annually,
annually.
okay,
Annually. So if you just
okay,
if you just buy if you can buy the S&P 500 as a product, and I'm sure you would be able to in Ghana, and
yeah,
then you just invest in that. Okay, so
yes,
the problem with that idea, it's very boring, it's not exciting, but it works. And
okay,
then I wrote this book called The Money Fountain, and then people afterwards said, "Gosh, this is great! This is a wonderful idea. Why?" Then I said, "How's it going?" And they would usually say, "It's not going well because I haven't done anything." I'm like, "Why haven't you done anything?" And then all these excuses come. I'm unsure. Is the market at a peak or a trough? I said, actually, it doesn't matter if you invest every month. etc. And then I published a book called Investing Happiness to look at the biases which
Okay.
people have. And then my last book, which was published last year, this is the
Okay.
book on pure trading.
Badass
Um,
trader.
yeah, and that's quite interesting. So it's available on Amazon.
Okay.
And what was interesting about this book, so I've been publishing these weekly principles for, gosh, it'll be close to 6 years now. And then
Okay.
about 3 years ago, I was approached by a publisher to say, asking me if I would basically, take some of these principles and put it in a book form. And I get a lot
Okay.
of these requests as well. Where can I find all the principles? And my standard answers in my LinkedIn posts.
Yeah.
And then I didn't think about it. And then I actually, it was a UK publisher because there's a bit of a twist in the story. It was a
Okay.
UK publisher and they contacted me and they said I need to do a submission, which I did. It was like 20, 30 pages in terms of what
Okay.
the first chapter would look like, and et cetera, et cetera. And then about 2 weeks later, I got a letter from them and they rejected me.
Ah.
I thought,
Why?
I thought this was quite strange. You asked me to
Yes.
submit.
So now
I
you're
didn't.
rejecting.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so I thought, well, I've done the work. So I submitted it, and luckily, Penguin actually latched onto the book. The initial
Okay.
title of the book was Unbeatable Trader. So, but
Oh.
they thought that wouldn't sell so nice. So the
Badass.
book is basically in two parts. So the first part is where I deal with what it requires to win at trading. So, for example, that you need a trading plan. I spend a lot
Okay.
of time on the trading plan. You need, which markets you go in. Um, then I spend a lot of then I follow up in chapters in terms of managing your position sizing, managing
Okay.
your risk, because most people get very excited finding an indicator and seeing if it will work or not,
No.
and tweaking it. But at the end of the day, it's a combination between win rate and how much and basically accuracy of your signals,
Right.
which is also quite interesting because if you win every second trade you win a certain percentage, you could have
You.
your accuracy can be as low as 35%,
Mm-hmm.
and you can make a lot of money. And there are a lot of examples out there. So I spent a lot of time on the first four chapters, basically, as I said, what is a trading plan? Then I go into
Okay.
risk management. I go into basically managing your emotions, and
Okay.
then I go through a small example of Amazon shares just to say, okay, this is how I do it. And then the
Okay.
second part of the book is basically my principles, probably from number one to about 150. So you can imagine now I'm
Wow.
sitting on
Go.
279, 280. I could probably have another book coming through. So the book was
Yeah.
published. It's doing reasonably well
Mm-hmm.
globally.
Right.
Um, yeah, I'm doing. I'll maybe share my ideas with another book, which I'm toying in my mind with, but also with trading. So I
Okay.
think it's the feedback. If you look at the commentary on Amazon, and it's still a 5-star feedback.
Mm.
So but the book will not. It will not give you the secret indicator that will make you millions. It'll give you the
Right.
recipe that will make you millions over time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. Now for based on the things you said, like you have in a book, it tells me that you are a trader yourself, or you've been trading. I mean, you're a trader, right? Before we even end, I would like us to know about your trading career, not the business part of it or the executive positions, like being the CEO of Scope Markets, but I want to know when you started trading, what attracted you to trading. Did you make some losses? If you did, what changed your way of trading and all of that before we now delve into your executive positions in the trading industry? Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trading on and off for since the age of 18.
Oh,
And what interested me in trading was basically, you can call it a influencer. I actually met back then. I met a real stockbroker, and
Okay.
he was driving a white Rolls Royce,
Oh,
and and
in
I
which
actually
year?
said to
In
him,
which quick one? In which year was this?
this was in the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, Rolls Royce
So
then.
he was
Right.
driving
Yeah.
this, I think it was a Corniche. It was like a two-door Rolls Royce. And I
Okay.
said to him, what do you do? And he said he's a stockbroker. I'm like, whew, okay. This is interesting. I studied finance at university, and then while I was
Okay.
studying and even working, I've always been trading. Depending
Okay.
on my work, because sometimes I'm in positions where I'm not allowed to trade,
Okay.
given my role. My two trading styles, if I can call it that, the one is what I would say swing trading, is
Okay.
where I trade end of day, um,
Okay.
and I would hold positions for about 3 or 4 months, predominantly on CFDs,
Oh. Okay.
predominantly on US stocks,
Okay.
and predominantly on stocks that are in the top 100 for liquidity reasons. And then also depending on where I am in my career as well, I have got a day trading system, which is a 30-minute breakout system on the local index here. So
Okay.
depending. So at the moment, I'm not into both. I've got restrictions where I work, so
Okay.
it's very difficult for me to trade. But yeah,
Okay.
it doesn't mean that I'm not looking at the markets. I do look at the markets quite aggressively,
Okay.
and I do manage a person's portfolio
Oh.
on their behalf. So um, uh, more just to keep me in the markets. I don't earn anything out of it. But I just, I've been managing it for, a lot of years at the moment. So it's a swing
Wow.
trading system. And in the book, I actually, yeah, the whole book is basically on the swing trading system.
Yeah.
And then it's a open range breakout system. If
Oh.
I trade on the 30-minute charts.
One thing is based on my conversation with other
Yeah.
industry players, almost everybody has had like a bad story at some point. Do you
Yeah.
have anything like that where losses, and then have you had anything like that in your
Oh
career
yes,
as a trader?
I've had some serious losses. I think usually the losses happen after you've had a really good run. And again, I come to my statement, the easiest person to fool is yourself because you suddenly think you are, you
Invisible.
know how to do it. Yeah, you're invisible, and then you start getting reckless. You start using either more leverage or you're increasing your position size, and specifically if you're using derivative instruments. So I took a big knock a couple of years ago, and
Okay.
then I thought about it, and then I started looking at books very differently because I've been reading trading books for many years.
Okay.
And like many people who start in the game, the first thing you look in a trading book is to try and get that magical formula or that
Mm-hmm.
indicator that will be more right than wrong, which
Right.
doesn't exist because everything's a function of price.
Right.
Um, so then I started re-looking and rereading a lot of the books, and then I discovered that's only one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is that you have to position yourself. You have to have a position size, and if your win rate and your accuracy is positive, there's a little formula, then you've actually got an edge in the market. If you do not have an edge in the market, you are as good as gambling,
Wow.
and you
Right.
will lose money. And then I also learned as well, if you've got an edge, you can actually lose 6 times in a row. But since
Mm-hmm.
your position size is, either 1 or 2%, you can actually withhold that. Because if you're wrong, let's say 10 times and you trade 1%, that's 10%. That you can recover from. That you only need
Yes.
11%. But anything above
Yes.
50%, you'll never recover. We're
Right.
talking north of 100, 200%. So I think after that big loss, I started going back to the drawing boards and trying to figure out
Mm-hmm.
where did I go wrong. And I went wrong because, always forever spending my days to try and find this magical indicator. And then
Okay.
once I'm lucky, then I just scale my positions, to the moon. And, there's a saying that trees don't grow into the sky, neither do
Mm-hmm.
markets. They,
Right.
markets do come down, and then you get into, and we saw it last year in a couple of shares like Nvidia as well. It went up,
Yeah.
up, 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 and then poof, it
Yeah.
just drops.
Down.
Tesla as well late last year. So
Yeah.
you always have to be careful about that. And then, so position sizing, adhering to stop losses, understanding that you could have a bad run, understanding that you can have a good run. It's got nothing to do with you. But
Yeah.
ultimately, you need a system with an edge. And I spend a lot of time in this book in terms of
Mm-hmm.
creating an edge and the formulas that go in. It's not too difficult, these formulas. It's probably, yeah, you don't, not even high school level maths.
Right.
But yeah, that's it. Because as I write in the book as well, that, trading is the hardest, easiest thing.
I was told that trading is simple but not easy, and someone explained
Exactly.
that to me perfectly, and then it made
Yeah,
a lot of sense.
yeah,
And
yeah,
based on what we just shared with us, it also comes back to almost the same story that almost every trader has. That
yeah,
beginning stages, we are looking for the magical setups, indicators, and all of that, which sometimes leads to losses. But in your
yeah,
case, even after that, you did not give up, but you decided to educate yourself, and which
yeah,
has brought you this far. So what that simply means that education is key when it comes to trading.
yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. I think you can't do it without education. I think this is the challenge at the moment. There's actually too much information out there.
Yeah.
And again as well, if and there's absolutely reluctancy of people that want to get into mentorship or being coached.
Yeah.
Um, an hour or 2 hours with a coach or a mentor can save you so much money in the future. But it's
Yeah.
it's the weirdest thing because people get into the market. Some of them start paper trading or demo trading, and it goes well. But there are issues because it's not no emotions. But you
Yeah.
probably most people start engaging like either through books or
Mm-hmm.
get a coach to work through and say, okay, it's something that I want to do.
Yeah.
I did not have success. I know most people don't have success. I know that it's maybe 10%, 1% really do well.
Right.
Why do they do well? What have they got more than me? Because
Right.
for training, unlike athletics, you don't need specific talents. You
Mm-hmm.
just need to follow a recipe. You don't have to be fast, nimble, strong. You just need to be able to say, okay, this is what happened, this is what I'm going to do, and follow the recipe. It's quite simple, but for
Yeah.
some bizarre reason, people don't get it.
Yeah. No, we thank you very much for joining us. This very insightful session. Before we even leave, we want you to tell us about some of your recent projects, your upcoming projects, and what you are doing to, get this piece, make it a better place for new traders and advanced traders as well. Yeah.
I'm going to share a very funny story.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got a very good friend, also in the trading game. Her name is Louise Bedford. She's an
Okay.
Australian lady,
Okay.
and she's like published 5 books on trading.
Oh,
And she
interesting.
she would always say, you need to trade like a robot. And
Yes.
she's got a little robot there on a desk, and she always looks at the robot. And then about last year, I thought it was a great idea, and I was looking for a robot myself. I couldn't find one, and then I walked past a toy shop, and I saw a Lego of
Okay.
the Star Wars R2D2 robot.
Right.
And it's yeah. And then I thought, okay, let me buy this and I'll build this robot.
Lego. Okay.
Okay, so I've started. I'm like halfway, and what did I discover? You would imagine here are all the pieces in packets, and there's a plan, and you follow the plan.
Yes.
And then I discovered how often I get things wrong, even with the plan in front of me.
Well
And I
written.
thought about that. I thought about that. If I get this with Lego wrong, because either I jump the page or I don't focus on something, I
Yes.
thought, you know what? This shows why trading is so difficult because to build a Lego set is theoretically you should be able to do it once and it should be easy. And then I
Yes.
spoke to other people about it and I said, you know, I googled it and it's a common occurrence that
Oh, okay.
people make mistakes building a Lego set while the instructions are there. So I thought about it and I thought, you know, how does this relate to trading? Exact thing. Here's the recipe, but we mess it up. Here's the Lego
Yes.
plan, and then suddenly you think, my goodness, this is not working. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe my next book, if I ever get asked a book, is I should combine Lego with trading. Both are theoretically very easy to do,
Y- yes. But
and both
practically,
suffer from the same things that you don't follow the plan. And I was absolutely amazed. I'm halfway there now with my
yeah.
robot, and I plan to do once I finish it to put my learnings on LinkedIn again with my robot. But I was
Okay.
absolutely amazed because you would imagine building a Lego set is easy.
Right. Right. So the problem has got to do with like your principle 279, like you said. You know what to do, but you just don't do it.
You don't do it, you don't follow it, your mind wanders. Um, you know, you pick up the wrong piece, a very similar piece.
Yes.
It was absolutely amazing that, you know, I said to myself, it's 13 packets. I'm like sitting on packet number 8 as we speak. And then I thought, you know, this is absolutely crazy. But now I
Yes.
understand why people battle with trading. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure as well, if you let's ignore the Lego and you say, okay, I can't for the life of me, I can't cook or but if you say, okay, you know what, don't worry, just follow the recipe, step for
Yes.
step. I'm sure most people will mess it up as well.
Definitely. Definitely.
Why?
And that's been the question.
That would
That's
be
been
the
the
question.
question. Yes.
So we're not good at following steps, it seems. Um, Mine, was I not concentrating? Was my mind wandering? Some people get creative. Okay, with the Lego set, you can't get creative because I'm trying to build
Yeah.
a robot.
Right.
With cooking, I can imagine it. Oh no, more salt. Why two teaspoons? So my project back to you is
Mm-hmm.
actually I've been toying around with as easy as Lego for trading or something like that. So I don't know. Maybe my publisher will bite on my idea or not. But yeah, that would be. I would go even one step lower than this one and say, okay,
This one.
these are the steps. And I'll
Okay.
compare it to building my little robot, which the world
Right.
will probably see in the next month.
It will be great for us to see that book out and that project
Yeah,
out, and we'll be glad to also maybe have a
yeah,
review when you are done. Yes,
yeah.
it'll be nice.
I'll have a picture of myself in the robot, and the idea,
Ah,
train like a robot is exactly what you need to do because if
yes,
I know people selling robots and signals, but if you trade like a robot, if you are like a robot, this, and
this,
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 you should have success.
yes, yes, which I agree with you perfectly. But
Yeah.
as humans as we are, because of emotions, we are a bit more flexible as compared to robots. So I think that's where the problem do come. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
they don't have emotions, and that's why they succeed. And even the best traders, that I've been engaging with, they do have emotions. They
Yeah.
are aware of it. Again,
Aha.
they know the
Yes.
easiest person to fool is themselves, so they manage it. So
Yeah.
it is quite critical that you need to, self-regulate yourself, in this
Mm-hmm.
whole trading game because there will be periods that you go from exuberance to despair.
Yeah, which makes sense. All right. Thank you, Mr. Robert. Thank you very much for joining us. We really
You're welcome.
appreciate your time and taking us through your book, your principles, and all of that. We'll be looking out for your new book that's yet to be published.
Well, we
I guess
are
the
fingers
title,
crossed.
I guess the title will be around robots, something
I mean,
robots,
okay.
right?
as easy as Lego or something like that.
All right, sure. Thank you very much. Thank you very
Great.
much. All the best. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye.